howdy there, Internet people. It's Belle again. So today, we're going to talk about Texas making 3 for 3 on the 10 Commandments. In news that should come as no surprise to those who have read and understand the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, a federal judge in Texas ruled that several Texas school districts did not need to comply with a Texas law known as SB 10 that would require schools to post a 16 by 20 inch poster featuring a specific version of the 10 Commandments in classrooms. The judge said the law, quote, impermissibly takes sides on theological questions and officially favors Christian denominations over others. Beyond favoring Christian denominations, the fact that the state selected and approved a specific translation of the commandments means that it actually favors certain denominations over others. The judge seemed to have fun with his lengthy 55-page ruling, musing about teenage boys asking, quote, Miss Walker, I know about lying and I love my parents, but how do I do adultery? The judge then went on to talk about how this would put poor Miss Walker in an awkward position because reproductive education in Texas is a hot topic. He referred to the theoretical impromptu discussion as a, quote, classic example of the law of unintended consequences in legislative edicts. More to the point, he said, quote, even though the 10 Commandments would not be affirmatively taught, the captive audience of students likely would have questions, which teachers would feel compelled to answer. That's what they do. This would likely violate freedom of religion. This is the moment where somebody will say, the First Amendment grants freedom of religion, not freedom from religion. That's cute, but it's also wrong. The religious freedom portion of the Constitution has 2 parts. The Free Exercise Clause, you can practice your religion, and the Establishment Clause. The government can't make you practice a religion or show favoritism. This ruling was in no way a surprise. Similar laws have been hammered in courts in Louisiana and Arkansas lately, giving those challenging the case a 3 for 3 record so far. The legal fights aren't over because the goal is to get this back to the Supreme Court in hopes of them coming up with some creative interpretation of the Constitution that would allow the government to force its religion on people. In any normal Supreme Court, these cases would be rejected outright by the court. But this isn't a normal court. Honestly, I think the risk of dividing the conservative movement along denominational lines and thereby shattering a voting bloc might be the only thing that stops the court from saying it's okay. If the court okays these texts, it won't be long before vicious infighting occurs over which translation of text or which denomination's doctrine should be favored. The judge in the Texas case seemed to understand the nature of many of the people who push these types of laws. He closed his ruling by saying, quote, for those who disagree with the court's decision and who would do so with threats, vulgarities, and violence, grace and peace unto you. May humankind of all faiths, beliefs, and non-beliefs be reconciled one to another. Amen. If a judge has to preemptively attempt to diffuse threats, vulgarities, and violence, maybe you should read Jesus' teachings a little bit closer instead of pushing posters. Anyway, it's just a thought. Y'all have a good day.